Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and race fans alike. Welcome to the first round of the SimGrid Super Trofeo mini series. You're joining us here at Brands Hatch in the middle of qualifying. We have 8 minutes and 12 seconds left in qualifying. This series will be running over 2 rounds, so 2 parts. Well, not 2 rounds, 4 rounds, but a 2-part round on the first race. Your first race will be taking place here at the wonderful Brands Hatch circuit, and with a 15-minute qualifier and a 30-minute heat. We'll then be going into the second round at Monza, and that will be as well 15-minute qualifying and 30-minute heat. You see now cars on the circuit getting ready to go out for their flyers, not leaving much of a gap between each other, so hopefully they're running on very similar pace. Otherwise, we're going to have a few tripping over each other as we're on board now with Victor Geneva as we go into the first turn, the paddock hill bend. Quite a tricky corner this. It does tend to tighten up on you and force you wide, but he seems to have coped with it quite well as we head now into Druids, the tight hairpin heading down into the left-hander here. But different cars to what a lot of these guys have been driving in recently. A lot of the guys, obviously, with the ACC, spending their time in GT3 cars. So a big jump for a lot of these drivers to move from GT3 to what is essentially a GT4 car. So almost an entry-level car to your GT3 racing. Lamboghini actually using the Super Trofeo series in real life to populate their GT3 racing contingency that they compete with in the Blank Paint series and other GT3 series. But very difficult car to drive. It can be very oversteery as we move over to on board with Lucas Cruiser. This is quite an interesting view. I do love this view. That is the one thing about streaming live esports or live simulation events rather than the actual real thing, is that you can play with camera angles that would normally call, whoa, running a bit wide there, just grabbing too much curve on the brake, locking the wheels off and sending them off as we jump to Kevin Rowland, currently in 14th position. We're down to 16th now. I'm actually looking forward to seeing what the lap time differences are going to be as everybody's in the same car. I mean, limited setup, there is setup available, but it's not as drastic as what it would be in your GT3 cars in a Set Corsa competition. Number 501 going for the simple British racing green on his Lamboghini Super Trofeo. A bit of sacrilege there, I think, in my opinion. But into this, like I said, tricky turn one. It does fall away from you quite badly. You can see the actual dip in the road there as he exits up now into Druids. Hard on the brakes. He could have gone a bit wider there before he goes into the apex. But not a bad lap so far. I'm not getting much in terms of lap times just yet. I'm sure I'll get them as qualifying continues. But 32 on my list on the grid at the moment. So quite a popular series this as we have a look at Felix de Jong, currently in pole, sitting in the pits. He's happy with his lap time, but can Baptista pop him over the line now? Just about ahead of the line now. We'll see if he's able to move himself from second into that first place. Unable to do so just yet and runs wide into turn one. Maybe just happy with where he is on the grid at the moment as Cruiser comes around to midway through the lap, trying to move himself into a better starting position from third place. But Brands Hatch notoriously difficult to pass on. It's not a very easy circuit to get past on. It is very narrow. It is one of the oldest circuits internationally. So it's not a circuit that you can pass on too easily. So qualifying is going to be very important here, especially with this many cars on the grid. It's going to be a difficult thing to do to move up the field. I've had experience with it myself, especially in ACC. We've had a couple of rounds here locally in my home country of South Africa, in the leagues that we have here, and I definitely struggle to get past on a circuit like this. GT3 cars are a little bit quicker than these cars, so maybe we'll see more passing opportunities out of cars like this. But I think qualifying is going to be all important. This looks like a very neat and tidy lap, taking a lot of curve there on the way through, but it looks like a very neat and tidy lap, and we could see Lucas Cruiser moving up out of P3 and hopefully for him into pole, and well, hopefully not for Felix de Jong into pole. As we're about to head over the line now, he's going to cross the line shortly. Have a look and see if he's maybe bettered his position. No, he stays third. So difficult for me to see those numbers. A 122.5, it looks like to me, is his best. His last wasn't that great. It looked like a 247 from where I was sitting, but he goes to have a go at another lap. What's very important with these cars, and especially what I found when I was doing some driving in them, is how important tire pressures are. It is immensely important with cars like this to get your tire pressures right for qualifying, so your long run in qualifying. But again, your long run in qualifying is going to be the same as your 30-minute race. So you've got to find a good balance between a hot lap and qualifying, and then be able to switch over and get the car to run for 30 minutes. So there won't be any pit stops in this event. It's only a 30-minute race, so what we would call basically a sprint. As I start getting sector times now, 127.2 is pole position. The times are very, very close. 0.017 to second and 0.08, it looks like, to third. Fourth place, 0.3 behind. So a second covering the top 19 cars on the grid, which is absolutely phenomenal. So we are going to see some intense racing if they can make it through turn one. If you are at this race, I don't see much drop-off happening over 30 minutes. I think it'll be very much even, considering they're all in a one-make car. It's a one-make series, this. So I'm looking forward to seeing some very intense racing throughout the 30 minutes. There's only 2 minutes 30 left in qualifying. Can we see Felix de Jong, who's now dropped down into second, can he move himself back up into pole position on Cruiser? Cruiser actually managed to get himself into pole with a 1 minute 27.1. The times are so close. Felix de Jong heading out on a second flyer. Hopefully bettering his previous time. He only needs to find 0.1 of a second, so it's going to be difficult for him to do, but definitely manageable as we head now through the left hand. A great onboard shot here, grabbing a lot of curb early on the power. Careful not to go outside of track limits and invalidate his time, but using the right time on the circuit. Interesting line here. There are 2 lines here. He's taking sort of the middle of the road and the late apex to get on the power early and get the run down the straight. So very, very neat and tidy so far. But again, he's got to find 0.1, 0.2 of a second to move himself into that pole position. And he gets on the brake here just at the 50-meter mark. Turns it in. He's going to be looking to get on the power now. He's missed the apex. That's not going to be helpful to his time. Heading into the second of the right-handers here, quite tight now as the road runs down from you. Heading then uphill again into a quick flick right, and then quite a cambered left-hander. You actually almost got to use the camber of the corner to help you turn it in. Get on the brakes nice and early, get off the brake, turn it in, and get on the power again early enough to get the run down the straight towards your main straight. That corner very important for your speed down the main straight and into Paddock Hill, but obviously that's more important for your next corner your next lap as he goes through the clock curve now. Still neat and tidy. Let's see if he can make his way up back into the pole position from which he was just before he was knocked down by Cruiser. Is he able to do it? Unfortunately not. Lucas Cruiser is still our pole man. He's still out there trying to better his previous lap time of a 127.189. A little bit of traffic there on the right-hand side, getting well out of the way. Well out of the way. Mate needs to go to race control, get his 50 pounds back for cutting the grass for us. So they head now into the right-hander. Cruiser very neat and tidy again. Also missing that apex. So maybe that's a line that I'm missing out and why I'm struggling to get fast around here. But it seems like all the front boys are missing that apex by half a car length. Maybe a bump there on the curb, or maybe we've just seen 2 people miss the apex right after each other. But there is a car chasing. Lucas Cruiser dropped down now into third place. So Trocay has gone from a 127.3 to a 127.099. I am blown away by how close this field is. Absolutely mind-boggling how close this field is. Still a second separating almost the top 20. In fact, the top 20 separated by a second. Cruiser going over the line now. Is he going to be able to go from third back into pole position? Unable to do so. Stays third, but who was behind him at the time? Because that man, Andy Boardman, using the toe from Cruiser to get himself into 5th place. Very clever. He's still there and still chasing. He outbreaks himself a bit there into Druids. But maybe he's just using the deep line to get on the power nice and early as we go back now to Ryan Meenan, car number 23, down in 8th place. What blows my mind, it's a 127.6. Or, sorry, 127? Yes, 127.5. Oh, running slide. Oh, big off there. Oh, into the wall. And my mate, you're going to have to head your way back to the pit. So whatever flat-out lap you are on is gone. Vincenzo Saras, car number 1. 15th at the moment. I've got a little bit of a prep sheet I've been given, thankfully, by Singrid. As obviously, I don't know a lot of these drivers being from the African continent. Oh, I love this view. Going into the right-hander now onto the main straight. That right-hander being Clark Curve. He's having a bit of a dice here just before he heads over the line and has to back out of that hot lap. So, unfortunately, unable to better himself there. Bruyner down in 21st, Christian Bruyner. And that brings to an end qualifying. Someone might get a lap in, though. We've still got two of the top 5 still out there. Trying to set a lap now. Cruiser still trying to set a lap to get himself back into pole. He's heading over the line now. Was he able to? Right at the end, last of the last minutes. gets himself back onto pole, but only just. Brilliant qualifying there from Cruiser as he gets himself 126.985. He was able to find that point 2 we were talking about. So congratulations to him as we get ready to head into the first of the 30-minute races for tonight. Obviously, the second being at Monza. First of the 30 minutes will happen shortly. But Cruiser, my mate, brilliant drive there. Get yourself in on the last minutes back into pole position. Absolutely phenomenal. So the grid so far, we've got Cruiser in first place with Truquet in second, Gapcart in third, Felix de Jong in fourth, Boardman in fifth, followed by Pride, Winlock, Ryan Meenan, Geneva, and Girotti. Please, guys, if I butcher your name, my name's Carl Lawrence. You can find me on Facebook. Please send me a message and have a go at me. Tell me how to pronounce it properly. I will get it right. As we head down from 10th place, we've got Danasen in 11th, Ryan Meenan in 12th. And the other of the Danasen brothers, Danhausen brothers, in 13th, Roland in 14th, and Reed in 15th. So that rounds out your top 15. But I expect a phenomenal race. Top 20 separated by only a second. Just a minute ago now, as they all butterflies are building up in their stomachs, they're sitting on the grid. Cars are in probably the best position, but also the worst. If anything goes wrong behind him, he's going to be the catalyst. He's not going to be the catalyst. He's going to be the poor victim to it. Truquet, it's a 30-minute race, so I'm expecting them all to be neat and tidy into turn 1. But again, racing drivers are racing drivers. The visor comes down, the red mist comes up, so anything is possible. But with 30 seconds to go, I can tell you as a driver myself, both in the real and in the sim world, the butterflies are churning in your stomach at the moment. Luckily for me, I'm just spectating. I don't have to be on the grid with these boys, but I'm still absolutely blown away by the top 20, only separated by a second. So we can expect a really, really strong race in the first of the SimGrid Super Trofeo mini series as we're about 10 seconds away from the start. We'll see the lights come on now. They are going red. 7 seconds to go before we get going. And it's going to be an interesting race. The head off time, we're obviously going to be doing the full track warm-up for these boys, get their tires up to temperature. It's going to be a rolling start for the start of the first 30 minutes. But I can tell you, sitting there on that grid, though, it really does get the heart racing. Very panicked, very stressed as we get led around now for the start of the race. For those of you who don't know the name, who don't know the game, don't know ACC, you are given a box on the front of your screen telling you where to be on the circuit. So you'll see now they're following around in single file. Just before they get to the main straight, though, it will tell them to go single file. You're then given a green box that you can fit your car into. Anything, if you exceed that green line, you will be given a drive-through penalty. A drive-through penalty. And if you're too far behind your green line, you're not going to get a great start. So it's very important to during this time, get heats into the tires, especially just before we get to the end of the lap, as we have a look now at Lagarde in the purple, gold, and red Lamborghini. So everybody having a bit of fun with their liveries. I said, of course, it does allow you quite a bit of customization. So everybody having a lot of fun there with their liveries, getting them all nice and flashy for us, the audience watching at home. Heading now to the last back part of the circuit. So this is what is the GP circuit. Unfortunately, this corner has claimed the life of one or two British drivers in the past. But none of that can happen here in the sim world, thankfully. But very interesting to see what's going to happen with 20 cars running within a second of each other for 30 minutes. Hopefully we see 30 minutes of dicing. I'm very excited to see it as we see getting a little bit close for comfort there in my mind. That's Truquet right behind there in second place. He was just pipped for pole by Cruz on the last lap. So maybe just a little bit of frustration there, getting as close as he can. There is only 0.1 between the two of them. As you see them now go double file. As I said before, they'll now have their green box that they can stay in. So you will see second place get a little bit far ahead as everybody just slams on the anchors to get themselves all settled. The game does allow some teleportation there as the cars do go through each other, so we don't lose cars in the warm-up lap, thankfully. But you'll see them now get all settled down into their positions. They have to maintain, I think it's 80 k's an hour or 70 k's an hour on start. And you will see that sometimes the second place man does get ahead of the pole man, but that's just because the pole man's not running his box as optimally as he can. Cruiser, though, doing a good job, keeping himself just ahead of a second place HOK, edging forward slightly, though. But lights will go out shortly as we head up towards the start-finish line. Felix de Jong giving a bit too much space there for my liking. Sorry, not Felix de Jong, Capricorn giving a bit too much space. So the second... Oh, Grace is on. Great start from Crozer there. Getting quite a big gap on Chouquet as we head into... They are side by side into Paddock Hill Bend. Nice and neat and tidy. Everybody giving each other a bit of respect and a bit of room. But this is where I see issues coming as we head now into Druids. Everybody giving each other just enough room to get through. Nice, neat, gentleman racing. We all know it's a 30-minute race, so there is some time. Everybody nice and spacing out, giving each other the respect they need. Rather get the passes done at the end of the first lap, as on the first lap, as we head down now, head into down the Cooper Straight and into Surtees corner. Down the inside goes Ryan Menon, unable to get the move done though, just a little bit too far back. So playing clever, stay in the race for the duration. Don't do any silly dives. Although saying that, he's heading around the outside now into a right-hander as we are on board with Truquet in second place. He's lost a massive gap on Cruiser, and that's allowed Felix de Jong right into the back of them. So Felix de Jong making one place up from the start, up into third place now, hounding Truquet. Absolutely hounding Tim as they head through there now. Felix de Jong in third place, we're right on board with him. Late on the brakes down to the right-hander, early on the power. He's keeping that car at bay. He's close enough now to run in the slipstream as they head down the main straight. So a move either into Paddock Hill or Druids is definitely on here as they head into Clark Curve. Whoa, big mistake there from Capricorn. Capricorn from fourth place, dropping way down the... Whoa! Oh, unfortunate. Absolute unfortunate accident. Nowhere to go for those poor cars that had to drive into him. Unfortunately, Capricorn losing it on the outside and getting stuck in the middle of the circuit as we join the battle again between Tim Truquet and Felix de Jong. Through turn one now, they head and into Druids. This would have been the prime passing opportunity, but Truquet able to get a gap on de Jong as they head nice and neat and tidily through it. But the big winner there was Pride, moving his way right up into fourth place, back to battles further back now for 12th place. Errol Verwey getting his way past there. No, I lied to you. That is my mistake. That's Pierce making his way up from 14th to 13th place. So moving his way up nicely into 13th place. He seems like he's got a little bit of pace there because he seems to be catching 12th place quite quickly. So maybe not able to get the setup he wanted for qualifying. But this is the close racing I was talking about. Nose to tail as there is some messy business going on there between Smith. Oh, car out, unfortunately. Parked on the inside of the grass there. I'd love to see who that is, but we can't see from here. We'd rather watch this battle. This battle is intense between Smith, Neve, Van Asperen, and Besserik. More than that, there's about 7 or 8 cars involved in this battle. Not a lot of place to take. I did mention that beforehand as we see Smith run slightly wide. He's going to give Neve the run. He's not able to make a sticky, even went for the dummy there, but Smith, wise to it. Absolutely wise to it. We don't see a lot of defensive driving, but that is because these drivers know to pass on the circuit is quite difficult. So running line astern there could cover all of these guys with a blanket at the moment as Felix de Jong in third place under big pressure from Pride. He was obviously able to move up from the 5th place spot with that mistake from 4th place man Capricot. Heading now through the Druids hairpin into the left-hander here that brings you onto Cooper Straight and into Surtees. But, Felix running a little bit wide there. It hasn't allowed Pride to get any closer, but definitely running a little bit wide as we see them all starting to settle down and settle into a rhythm. And a man who has definitely settled into a rhythm is Chris as we go back to this battle from 14th down, probably to about 20th place at the moment. We're riding on board now with Martin Van Asperen in the number 48, a Lamboghini Super Trofeo. This is a one-way class, guys, so these cars are very, very close together, and that is the shot I love. Absolutely an amazing shot from inside the car. We can see his hands very busy on the wheel there, busy on the brakes, but busy on the throttle, just busy in general, trying to make it around this very narrow circuit. We can see the mistakes being made. We've seen a couple of people fall victim, though, just to running slightly wide as we see how tail happy these cars are. If you have a look at the car running in front there. So just running a little bit too wide, dropping a wheel off into the grass. There is not a lot of curb around here. And that's it. Your car's facing the opposite direction. Here's the off-camber I was talking about. We jump on board now with Charles Smith trying to chase down Pierce. Pierce got the move done on Smith quite early and he's able to romp away, but I don't see him catching her away at the moment. So this seems to be the gaps are forming throughout the field. You'll see our groups form throughout those 30 minutes. So there'll be groups of drivers throughout the field having a big dice. But Chad Smith able to hold off. Oh, Felix de Jong under big pressure at the moment from Pride. Absolute massive pressure down in third place to maintain that podium place. I was going to say that Kurtzer was getting away from second place Madden, but it doesn't seem like it. It seems like that gap is staying pretty steady as we see Felix de Jong trying his hardest to hold on to that third place and actually running wide. And this is bringing Boardman and Ryan Meenan into the party. So he runs defensive now into the right-hander, closing off. He's going to stay quite late on the apex to try and maintain. Oh, he's run wide. Oh, no, I was mistaken. He had not run wide. It did definitely look like it from my camera angle that he had run wide, but able to stay in line and on circuit and maintain that third place. So Pride very much hungry for a podium position in this race and a podium finish. But this is definitely bringing the other two, Boardman and Ryan Meenan, into the party. So we could have a four-way battle here for third very, very shortly. And as I said, they're in the slip, and this is soon going to be a four-way battle for third place. I'm just going through the names here. Boardman finished fifth in the three-round Ferrari and Lamborghini series, and his best place finished at third place in round 2 at Silverstone. So handy behind the wheel. He is no slouch. So definitely got a bit of pace there to run up front here. And with him at the moment is Pride currently looking for a way past on Felix de Jong. And just behind him is Ryan Meenan. Ryan Meenan, also a handy little driver himself, staying right in touch there, running slightly wide though, but running just in touch there of Boardman. Oh, big mistake from Felix. That's going to allow Pride to come through on the inside, and that's it. Move done already before the corner was even finished. So Felix de Jong feeling the pressure there from Pride. Pride just applying it ever so gently, but for a long period of time. And unfortunately, Felix de Jong cracking under pressure. But this has put Boardman right into the race now. He's going to be looking for a way past. Switching effect not as big as what I thought it would be on these cars. So he's unable to suck the car into the car in front of him and get a good move done. As we see some more running wide there from Pride. Oh, big oversteer moment. That's going to get Felix de Jong on the inside. This is a dust that's going to last the entire race. De Jong moved done now. Oh, Pride turning in just way too early there. Didn't realize de Jong hadn't gone past him, and that gives Boardman fourth place. So Boardman now moving his way up into fourth place. Hungry to get past Felix de Jong and turn what is a fourth place finish into a podium. Heading now onto the main straight, but Pride is not done yet. His car is fishtailing all over the place. Maybe that early push is hurting his rear tires. As we see Ryan Meenan get his way past into Parakill Bend. Easy move done, and that is just because that car of Pride's is slipping and sliding all over the place. It's like his rear wheels are made out of grass. But he's not stopping the charge though, pushing hard to get himself back up into that podium fight. But it looks like we're going to have a fifth member to this party, and that's going to be Winlock. Winlock right back, bringing himself right back into a fight for what could possibly be a podium finish. As we have a look back further down the field now, this is Callum Neve in the number 17, currently sitting in 19th place. So this was the battle I was talking about. Seems to have spaced out quite a bit. There were probably 14th to 20th, all in the battle. We can see the front group of this battle just ahead. Wow. So much movement. Can't even commentate on what's going on there. As we see Aspirin now going around the outside. Obviously got a better run out of the previous corner. He's going to be looking for the inside line now. There he is. Late move onto the inside. He is done. Oh, he's going to have to back out of that. That was touch and go for a second there, but great defense from Smith. Smith defending this group very, very hard. He's been defending for the last 3 or 4 laps, I think. And it's been a masterclass in defensive driving. So if anybody wants to see how that is done, here it is. Here is your display of how to be a defensive driver. Having a look inside now, as we can see, very smooth on the steering wheel he is. I must be completely honest. Doesn't look as erratic as I thought he would be with this car, and as tail happy as it is. But he does seem to be struggling on the exit of a lot of the corners. So maybe just unable to get the power down. Doesn't have the traction that maybe cars behind them do. And that could be anything from suspension settings to tire pressures. There's a big dive there from Busnick. He was having a look down the inside. Would have been a proper late lunge if he got it done, but he had a look. He backed out of it, and everybody still lives to tell to race another day with the flashy pink rims he's got on that car. It does look quite lovely, doesn't it? Purple purple accents and pink rims. Going back now to Mickey Lagarde, sitting currently in 20th place. But the race is far from over. We've still got 20 minutes and 17 seconds left to go. So anything can happen. But a man quietly on his own, we don't look at leaders very often when they romp away like this, unfortunately, is Lucas Kreuzer. Lucas Kreuzer, he is being kept honest by Takeo, I must be honest. Takeo, obviously, Tim Troke, obviously trying to keep him as honest as possible, trying to maintain that gap. Kreuzer got a great start and actually started building that gap from early on. So just a question of maintaining the pace, maintaining your tires, and being able to push from the end when it being the second place man. And Felix de Jong getting a bit of a breather there in third place from the Andy Boardman. Boardman obviously was fighting for third for quite some time, but seems to have given a little bit of breathing room to Felix de Jong there as we look back. And it looks like Pride, big oversteer moment out of there, out of Paddock Hill now, and that is allowed Boardman right onto the back of Felix de Jong. So it's Killen Ryan Meenan down in 5th place, and behind him is Pride. Winlock, I thought, would have had a go at Pride, looking at how unhappy the back of that car was, but he hasn't done it just yet. So it's difficult to get 30 minutes done and look after your tires. Heading now into Druid. There's a bit of moving and shaking going on here. Whoa! Big oversteer moment into the inside field, and that has pushed Van Asperen into the grass. Oh no, that's Busnick. Busnick into the grass, getting on the power in the grass and turning the car around, struggling to get himself back on. That is absolutely unfortunate. Trying to avoid an accident and put him well down the order. So he's it looks like he's dropped all the way down to 20th. He was fighting for a top 15 finish, and that has just promoted all those in front of him. But we see a big fight behind him at the moment as we ride on board with Lagarde. He's looking for a way down the inside. He doesn't seem to be close enough though. Definitely not close enough as they head through this right-hand sweep into the tire. Oh, you could get on the power there. Maybe just running a little bit too narrow going in, unable to get on the power, and that's cost him dearly as they're heading through that section there. Felix de Jong now in 3rd place. Boardman still keeping him honest, keeping him in check, making sure the man is setting consistent lap times, not making any mistakes. We saw a mistake from him earlier on the previous lap through Paddock Hill. Not making the same mistake again though. And right now it's just with a little over half distance completed. He needs to just maintain a consistent lap time. Consistency is key here. Boardman obviously going to be piling on the pressure, trying to force a mistake from Felix. But I don't see that happening anytime soon. Felix has been rock solid from the start of this race, getting himself up into 3rd early and maintaining that for the majority of the race, even under massive pressure from Pride. And I think Pride actually just cooked his tires as we're on board with Simone Girotti in his number 71 Lamboghini Super Trofeo. We ride on board with him now as we head through the back section of the Brands Hatch GP circuit, heading down towards Hawthorns now as we head through Pilgrim Straight. He goes into the right hand. A nice tight line there, getting to the apex early, still getting on the power early enough as well. And trying to catch the car that looks almost like Troquet's teammate, which is a Roland. So Tim Troquet and Roland picking very similar liveries, possibly our teammates. Heading now into the tight of the right-handers. You've got to grab another curve there to make a step. Oh, big off! So lucky to miss that accident with Gotti. And that is who is dropping down the order. So we can see who that is that unfortunately had that incident. Like I said earlier, we're going to see that throughout this race. Drop a wheel off and these cars are going to spit you out the other end. And it's just Tim Troquet has obviously made a mistake somewhere. Felix, again, another massive overturn moment. So we can see these rear tires on these cars are starting to go off. It is a 30-minute race. So Felix, I was just talking about his consistency and how well he manages it. He goes back for the cutback on Andy Boardman. Gets it done now into the left-hander. Boardman trying to go around the outside. It is a long corner. You can get it done. And just way more confident on the brake and way more confident in the rear end of his car. So a big mistake from Felix de Jong. And as we can see, the rear tires of these cars are starting to go off. They're starting to get hot, and these cars are starting to slip and slide all over the place. They are tail happy. So that, unfortunately, catching out Felix de Jong, maybe he just got a little bit excited when he saw the mistake from Troquet and it brought Troquet closer to him. So maybe just getting a little bit excited and making just a small mistake onto the power out of Druid. So that has brought Boardman now into a 3rd position, but it looks like this is bunching up big time. Oh, we've gone back to Kevin Rowland. Sorry, the cars look so similar. The liveries are very close. Kevin Rowland for 10th place. This is the last point scoring position of the series, so you only score down to 10th place. And it's not done as it is in Formula One and other series where you get, for instance, 100 for first, 90 for second, and 80 for third. It's done in a 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1 format, so all the way down to 10th place. So this is the fight for the last championship point in this 4-round mini-series, and it's Garotti fighting with Rowland and Pierce. Very, very close together. There is the call for the halfway mark. Pierce looking on the inside. He did get into the slip very well there. Unable to get it down now. This is a difficult corner to pass, and if you're going to have a go there, it's going to have to be a last lap wonder. And unfortunately, Pierce figuring that out quite late, and unfortunately having to run wide out of a paddock kill and costing him oodles of time into what could have been a passing opportunity here into the famous Surtees corner. We have a look down now at Stefan Miller, having a go from 19th, actually under pressure in 19th place. Down the inside now. This is the recovering. Oh, easy move. Moved over. Let you go. I can see you faster. Get on your way, bud. So that was a Whitelock, the recovering Whitelock. He made obviously an error earlier on, and now this is the big fight for the top 10 spot. Kevin Rowland in the 11th spot, dropped down behind that of Garotti. Garotti was down in 11th place. So Garotti taking that last championship point away, but we can see the fight starting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars joining the party here, and it's going to be a battle till the end. 13 minutes left to go. So I am loving this level of racing. They are so close together, so evenly matched, and what it seems like very difficult to drive. So one small mistake, getting on the power just a little bit too early, back of the car's out, and you've lost over a second of time. So very, very difficult to drive these cars, and very, very difficult to be consistent with them, which is allowing for some great racing for us. But I'm sure the drivers are cursing the tail happiness of these cars. Still on board with Kevin Rowland, trying to fight back for his 10th spot, but it just seems like Garotti's got a little bit more speed than him, as we see the back end of that car get a little bit out of hand. So maybe just a little bit too high on the tire pressures, making them a little bit too hot. There's a lot of defending going on there, though. That looks like Nathan Pierce trying to hang on to his top spot ahead of Smith. Smith was well up and has now moved his way. He wasn't 14th. He's moved his way up into 13th as we see a mistake again from Pierce. Smith going to try to go the long way around. We've seen it done before. Not close enough, though. He's going to go for the run down the straight, but he just couldn't seem to get that car turning and on the power, and that's brought him under pressure from Chimondley. Chimondley putting him under pressure now as they head down into what is known as Hawthorne's Corner. Not an easy overtaking position corner. This is quite fast. The next one is quite a bit tighter, so if you can get the run out, looks like he has it. He can do the dive bomb. Oh, unable to do it. Just not close enough. Wise decision. Rather finish 14th. Did not finish at all. Beautiful, beautiful aerial shots. I wonder what we paid for that sort of production there. Boardman under pressure now from De Jong. De Jong hungry to get back his third place that he made a mistake to lose. Like I said, that is a very difficult spot to overtake. But Boardman has run wide defending. And that's allowed Felix de Jong the run into Druids. It looks like this move is pretty much all but over. Boardman trying to run deep into the outside. He's managed to hang on to it. Boardman, the expert of running deep around the outside. We've seen him do it to Felix de Jong twice already. In fact, he did it and overtook Felix de Jong. So the champion of running around the outside, Boardman, able to hang on to that third place with some very, very defensive driving. I said earlier, Smith was a man we should take note from. I definitely think it's going to be Boardman. In fifth place now, this is Ryan Meenan. He did bring himself right onto this battle earlier on. He made a mistake and lost a bit of ground. So here he gets his second chomp at the bit, his second opportunity, but he's just unable to catch him right at the end of the straight there. That was quite strange. Maybe some damage on the front of that car, losing him some time down the straight. The aero not working the way it should. But we're on board now with Felix de Jong with a windscreen full of Andy Boardman's rear of the car. At one stage, I reckon you could have held a piece of paper between the two bumpers of these cars. They're running so close together. This is the interesting corner. This corner is very important for your run down onto the main straight and into turn one. They seem pretty even at the moment, but this right-hander will tell the story of whether turn one is a possible overtaking opportunity. We can see the two different lines used there. Looking to carry the mid-corner speed, and Andy Boardman looking to slow the car down to get on the power. And it looks like it's worked for Boardman. He's definitely got a bit of a gap now heading into turn one. Felix de Jong not as quick out of that corner as he wanted to be, and that's Ryan Meenan into the party. He's about to stamp his ticket for the fight for third place. We all see them late on the brakes into Druids. I'm not sure how much longer these tires can maintain this level of flat out on the limit driving. I'm unable at the moment to see the gap between first and second, but it seems like Cruiser is on his own and just cruising. As we're on board now with Tim Trickey, he looked a bit slow out of the exit there, and it doesn't look like he had the pace he had on earlier on in the race. So we see a bit of a yo-yo effect between himself and Boardman and Felix, but I think that's all down to them battling as well. There's Lucas Cruiser just cruising out there in front on his own, no cares in the world. Unbelievable lap to put himself on pole in the dying minutes of qualifying, and it looks like he's on his way to a flag victory. However, there still is 10 minutes left to go in this race, so a little over 8 laps. So anything can happen in that time, but we haven't seen this man put a foot wrong just yet. As we're back on board with Felix de Jong, he seems to have gotten a better run out of the tight left hand there, heading down towards this all-important right hand onto the main straight. He needs a good run out of here to get the run down the main straight, but just too late in the power. Seems like Felix unable to be on the power when he needs to get a run on that car in front of him. That car obviously being that of Andy Boardman. Andy Boardman gaining the third place from Felix through some wonderful pressure, forcing Felix into a mistake, and then an awesome move around the outside of him into, I believe it's Surtees? Yes, Surtees corner. Having a look now at the battles behind, it is Moriarty. Sean Moriarty. I'm going to call him Sean because maybe his name isn't pronounced Moriarty. It would be great if it was pronounced Moriarty, because behind him would be the great Sherlock Holmes chasing him around the circuit. But Sean holding on to that 17th place. Not a bad drive. I know we haven't looked down below the top 20, but there are 32 odd cars on this grid. I'm sure someone will correct me if I'm wrong. But it is a massive, massive grid. Tyler Reid down in 24th, a lonely 24th place, but 24th nonetheless. It's all about consistency, mate. Getting in there, having a good race, and keeping a clean. Chad Smith up into 13th from a not so great start. At one stage, we saw him down in 15th or 16th place, moving his way up into 13th. And just within a shot of that top 10, there was quite a big battle between Verratti and Pierce, but it seems to have settled itself down now. As we see Verratti in the car, Simone in the car 71, all on his own intent. So it has definitely settled down. Pierce losing ground to him. Like I said earlier, he did seem to have the pace over Pierce, though. So I did expect him to put the hammer down and run away. Unfortunately, that gap between him and 9th place Verway is rather large. But like we've seen before, anything can happen with these Super Trofeo cars. They are very, very twitchy on the rear end. And mistakes are plenty. We've seen them throughout the field. The only two we haven't seen them from, although I do think Tim made a slight error when he was in second at one stage, dropping himself into the clutches of Boardman and de Jong. But the only man we haven't seen make a mistake thus far is Kreuzer. We haven't said a lot about him, mostly because he's out there in front all on his own. Broke away early and got the job done. But this is the battle we want to watch. This is the battle for third place. It is Boardman, de Jong, followed by Ryan Meenan. Heading through now the right-hand sweep, which is better known as Hawthorns. Derek Minter straight into Westfield, Dingadal and Sheen curve. Then through Sterling's, through Clearways, and onto the Clark curve and down your main straight. So this is the section you need to tie together properly if you are going to be able to make a move on the car in front of him. It does look like to me that they are catching second place man, Tim Trickey. So maybe just a little bit of big mistake there from Boardman. That's the tail happiness I was talking about. That's allowed Felix de Jong down the inside. Boardman squeezing in towards the inside of the circuit. De Jong having none of it though. Absolutely none of it. Oh, there it is. There's the snappy. So these things are proper twitchy on the power. And Boardman way out of this fight. But that's Ryan Meenan to get around the outside of Felix de Jong. I've never seen anybody go around the outside of this corner before. So I doubt I'll see it now. Maybe it just would have been wise to get the cutback done and have a move into Druids. But unable to do so. So we've seen it from De Jong. We've seen it from Boardman. Getting on the power just a little bit too early. And these cars are very, very, very tail-happy. So it does want to swap ends on you. You've got to be wide awake to keep that car in a straight line. Boardman looked like he wasn't going to keep it in a straight line. It looks like he was heading straight for the inside wall. But great driving to keep the car on the circuit. And great driving to try and defend off De Jong. But unfortunately, losing out to de Jong as well as Killen. Now going back to the 11th place battle, that is Pierce. Pierce losing a bit of time on Grati, and that's brought him into the clutches of Simondle. Simonle in 12th place in that almost brown but kind of orange. Orange and white Lamborghini Super Trofeo. They are all driving the same cars here, guys. So it is a one-man class. And it does provide for the great racing that we are seeing at the moment. Super close. And like I said before, super difficult to pass in. A man we haven't seen ages for is Pride. Pride was in a shout for a top 3 finish. But unfortunately, a couple of mistakes and maybe cooking his tires a bit too early in the race dropped him down into a 6th place, unable to fight for that podium. And the one thing he does have to fight for now is to maintain his 6th place ahead of Wenlock, who looking very, very hungry behind him. Geneva, who we saw as one of the front runners in qualifying, he was early on quite up there. I think he was on pole at one stage, and we saw there we go. And these mistakes are plenty from all these drivers. I think these cars are just that difficult to drive. They may not be as fast as GT3 cars, but they are as difficult to drive. So, unfortunately, another mistake there from Wenlock. It robbed him of his opportunity to get past Pride into 6th place. But with 4 minutes still left to go, another mistake from Wenlock. It actually threw Geneva off there as well. So, with 4 minutes still left to go in this race, I think these tyres are starting to feel a little bit tired. I think they've done a few laps already, so they're going to be struggling. Car's not going to be turning in the way it used to, as we see. As I mentioned, Pierce missing the apex, getting on the power. You're not going to have as much traction as you used to. So it's going to be difficult to keep these cars going, as Pierce, unfortunately, receiving a 10-second penalty, that more than likely for track limits. So that has promoted Simonle into the 11th spot. I'm sure he's well aware of it. He's got the same information on his screen. So having a go is not really worth it at the moment. He's got a big gap between himself and the 13th place driver of Smith. So he doesn't. Whoa. Triquet. Big mistake from Triquet. And then another big one from who was that just went off into the background? So we've lost the driver. Triquet making a massive mistake and causing another mistake from another driver. I hope that wasn't Koza. Koza also in a red vehicle. Maybe just one of the back markers they were coming up to. No, it wasn't Koza. Coming up to one of the back markers, and he made a mistake there on the way out. But Tim Triquet obviously making a mistake and dropping himself right into the clutches of De Jong. And Boardman has dropped himself into 5th from 3rd place. So a lot happened in the front here while we were away. Andy Boardman down into 5th place. He was up into 3rd. So maybe backmark is playing a vital role in the results of this race. So Tim Triquet now under pressure from De Jong. They're all running very similar lap times. So this could be interesting towards the end of the race. Boardman dropping way back. So obviously his tires are not as happy as those in front of him. And again, we see Ryan Meenan just losing a little bit on the top end there to the drivers in front of him. So Felix De Jong very, very much almost down the inside there of Triquet. So Triquet struggling with tires, struggling with traction. But as I said, that Ryan Meenan gets onto the back of De Jong as well. So Triquet slowing down De Jong and bringing him into the clutches of Ryan Meenan and possibly into the clutches of Boardman. Although I did mention though earlier, Boardman. There is Boardman there, just hanging around in the background there. So anything could happen with these 3 drivers. We saw it in this corner on the previous lap. De Jong, the back of that car is skating all over the place. Reminiscent of watching Ayrton Senna try and set a qualifying lap. That thing is skating everywhere. So these tires obviously taking massive strain at the moment. Heading now into turn 1, paddock hill. The best place. We can see there on the hands. The back tires of these cars are really, really starting to struggle. De Jong having to put in a lot of counter steer there to keep the car in a straight line, exiting paddock hill. So it's basically a game at skate these guys are having at the moment. Almost like they're driving with car wheels on the back, as we see, as I mentioned, Tim taking a lot of curb there to keep the car in a straight line. So very, very difficult conditions for these guys to be racing in. But it does seem like Tim has got his head down, brought himself back into a rhythm. It is difficult to get back into a rhythm after you make a mistake. We head back now to the way. He is currently in 8th place, fighting off, 9th place, up to 7th. So we've lost someone. There's a lot of moving going on here throughout the field. So a lot of mistakes happening throughout the field. And people up and down all over the place. But we're back to the battle here for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Boardman unable to join the party just yet. Just a little over 50 seconds to go. So I think their next lap will be their last one. And we're going to see this race carry on to the frag. Tim unable to get on the power there. He's gone defensive. Felix is going to try to go around the outside. We saw this happen in the previous 2 laps ago, and he wasn't able to do it. He's opened the door. He cuts the. absolutely cutting the nose off of Ryan Meenan there, stopping the attack. But they head into turn one. Felix looking on the inside. He's unable to do it. They know they're on their last lap. He needs to get on the power early, get the run down into Druids. But I'm sure Tim is going to be wise to it. Comes to the inside. He does. Oh, there's contact between the two of them. They both stay straight though. Felix going around the outside, making Tim making him go the long way around. Unable to get the cutback go. So he had to close off the attack from Ryan Meenan. So this is a three-way battle now for second place, and 9 points in the championship. Tim had a quiet race on his own after the second place, but now he is under massive, massive pressure. Bit slow on the apex there though. Looked like he was slowing. Felix is actually flashing him at the moment, so he can see the brake test happening. He's wise to it. So Tim slowing him down on the apex to make sure he gets the run out of the corner, and Felix not happy with that at all. Let's have a look now and see if he does it again as they head through. I've just lost. There we go. I'm back. Got picture back again, so I just lost picture there for a second. There we go. We see him slowing on the apex again. Oh, just slowing these cars down on the apex and allowing him to run out of the corner. He's going to do it again there. Some might call it clever driving. Some might call it dirty. Let's see him through the apex here. He's going to do it. No, he's got a big enough gap. He thinks that's allowed Boardman down the inside of Ryan Meenan. Excuse me. Unfortunately, he's not able to get the move done, and he's stuck on the outside now for the last turn. He's going to try and go around the long way. The long way expert unable to do it as we watch Lucas Kreuzer come over the line for his flag-to-flag win. Felix de Jong in second behind Tim Tucker, and he doesn't seem happy with Tim's driving tactics at all. In fourth place was Ryan Meenan. Fifth, Andy Boardman. Sixth, Pride, able to come home in Pride with Varane in seventh, Geneva in eighth, Winlock in ninth, Garotti in 10th. And, that's what they finished. They haven't crossed the line yet, have they? As we go back now to Pierce coming home in 11th place, but he will be docked 10 seconds for possibly a track infringement. What a fantastic race. I don't even feel like that was 30 minutes. And that concludes our first round of the SimGrid Super Trofeo mini-series. We're heading now to Monza. Quick flight, 10, 15 minutes maybe. Drivers are going to jump out their cars onto planes and head our way over to Monza for round two. Another 15-minute qualification, and then into the second race. Whether or not we're going to have a break in between, just to allow the drivers to sort themselves out and join the new server, I'm not entirely sure. But absolute wonderful race from all of them. The gaps throughout the field, just nothing, next to nothing. There were fights throughout. As we have a look at Moriarty just parking himself on the grass to end the race. This is sim racing. We don't have to do a full lap and go back to the pits. No weighbridge needed. Having a look now at Stefan Miller doing the right thing, slowly going around the track, and then, as I said, commentator's curse, stops on the circuit to head himself back to the pits and get ready for the next server. We are going to be heading over to the Monza circuit. I'm going to take a quick break, wet my lips, get my voice ready again to go for the next 30 minutes, because as I'm sure is going to happen, I'm going to be talking all the way through because it's just racing throughout. Absolute wonderful racing to watch, and I'm looking forward to the next race at Monza, which will be happening shortly, with a 15-minute qualifying and a half-an-hour race. If you never left us, I don't need to say welcome back, but I am back for the second round of the SimGrid Super Trofeo mini-series. Now, SimGrid have some massive plans in the pipeline. We're going to be looking at some GT racing and some World Series racing, and of course, World Series. It will be GT racing. Some of these sprint formats possibly, as well as 6 hours, 9 hours, and potentially 12 hours. So SimGrid big into getting this up and running. A wonderful initiative from everybody involved. We are all volunteers in this, so putting a lot of time and effort, and we do appreciate everybody putting in all their time and effort. I'm sure the drivers do as well, to make this the next best series to compete in on the ACC platform. And I'm very much looking forward to being a part of this going forward. First race was absolutely phenomenal, and if the second race is anything like that, I'm almost sure myself and everybody watching is going to be blown away. Again, guys, please excuse me for butchering the pronunciation of some names. Again, my name is Carl Owens. You can find me on Facebook. If you do want to send me a message and just rag on me a bit, I'm open to it. We're used to it. But guys, if you do want to just get in touch and give me the correct pronunciation of your name, I'll gladly change it, and I'll be very much appreciative. As we've got only a minute and 20 left in the pre-practice session here on the infamous Monza circuit, we were able to fly here in just a couple of minutes and get going for what is essentially round 2 of the championship, the mini series. A very tricky circuit, this Monza. You tend to outbreak yourself more often than not, so it does require a bit of patience. And these Lesmos are very, very difficult to manage, especially in a car as tail happy as the Super Trofeo car. So we saw the mistakes happen at Brands Hatch, guys dropping wheels off into the grass and taking too much curve, and the car actually spitting them out the other direction. So I think we might see more of the same, but a lot of very famous corners that we all know very well here. So we've got Ascari, which we are heading into now, which then brings you onto the Parabolica. Then then we've obviously got the Lesmos, which I spoke about earlier, probably the most famous corners on the circuit. This is obviously the current Monza, the new Monza. The older Monza had the banked curves. You can still see some of them throughout the footage as bridges now. That is where the bank curves of the original Monza used to be. As we ride on board now with Jan Karaman, we didn't see much of him in the previous race, but he's on board now with him. He's lying in third place. So a bit of a change up between what we saw in the previous race. Cruiser down in 14th, but it doesn't look like he's actually set a lap. So not a true reflection of what the pace is going to be in qualifying. But let's see if he can pull one out the bag again and stick himself on pole position in the last possible moment. And you know what? As I mentioned it, we see a couple of those do that. So Karaman moving himself up into a third place in warm-up. But Andy Boardman, the man we saw race for 5th place in the previous race, on the pace straight away here at Monza in car 69. This is the tricky part here. You can't take too much curve with cars like this. It just spits you out into the wall. So just a minute to wait now before we head into the official qualification for the Monza round. It'll be a 15-minute qualification and then a 30-minute race, if I'm not mistaken. You can see these cars dancing around all over the curves at the moment. But let's just go through a few of these drivers. Just some of the notes that I have here. Previously, this was known as a GZR before it was changed over to the SimGrid, so Ground Zero Racing. This is one of the first races. Obviously, is SimGrid doing the 1 hour in Suzuki, 1 hour in Kyle and then the Ferrari versus Lamborghini series. So none of the guys are new to this. There are quite a few quite handy sim races here. Boardman, like I mentioned before, finishing his best place 3rd at round 2 of the Ferrari versus Lamborghini. Then there is Nathan Pierce, long-time racer in the community, finished 3rd in silver class in the last GZR league season. Kevin Rowland, we mentioned him a lot in the previous race. He's a long-term racer in the community. He finished 3rd in the AM class and again in the last GZR league series. Martin van Asperen, a long-term racer in the community, likes to drive the Aston Martin V12 apparently. These are just some of the things that these drivers have said about themselves. Guys, please, if you are watching this as a driver, as qualifying gets underway, looks as though it's only a 10-minute qualifying though, so not a 15-minute qualifying as I thought previously. Only 10 minutes. But drivers, please, if you are watching this again, get in touch with us and give us a brief bio for me to work with. Let me know a bit about you. So it just adds to the commentary flair bit and some talking points that we can have a look at. So fourth place in round 3, Ferrari versus Lamborghini. That is Brett Reichardt and Dejan Jankovic. Reddit moderator, it's a brilliant taker of screenshots. Christian Barra, one of the guys who creates posters for the SimGrid. So thank you, Christian Barra, for assisting us with that. Alex Darling, driver for Sidemax Motorworks, occasionally commentated in the last 2 D seasons for GZR. So, and Tim Chikay, we saw him a lot in the previous one. He was only able to manage a 10th place finish in the Ferrari versus Lamborghini series, but running right up in the front here as we see everybody moving and shaking to find a space in the circuit to get a clear lap. Difficult to do in only 10 minutes. So only 10 minutes around the circuit. It is a longer lap than what Brands Hatch is. I think times are in the 1 minute 30s, if I'm not mistaken. Baptiste Capricorn, we saw him throw away a 3rd place in the previous race. He finished P1 at the first round, Paul Ricard of the Ferrari versus Lamborghini series, but only placed 12th in the series. Owen Winlock, he is also a driver for Sidemax Motorworks, and he was able to finish 3rd in the first ever GZR League season in driving a Bentley. A fast driver, but prone to mistakes and risky overtakes in the winning car at the 6 hour of Car Army. So that is Owen Winlock. We saw a very tidy race from him previously. Ryan Whitlock, American driver, quite new to racing with us, but showing promise and solid results. A 9th in the Ferrari versus Lamborghini series. So some important information to note, some interesting feedback for all these drivers, guys. Like I said, if you want to give me a bio, let me talk about you in our live streams. Please get in touch with on the Discord channel and send us some bios so we can have a little bit more to talk about other than just the color of your car. We're heading now into 7 minutes of qualifying. Nobody's setting a lap time just yet, but obviously the leaderboard just showing he was up at first. But Ryan Meenan, we're on board with him now in a different color car. He was in the green car previously, so maybe color makes a difference. Maybe we can see him go a little bit faster in the purple and yellow. Into one of the Lesmos now, heading down towards the straight to a very, very tricky section. I'm sure, especially in a car like this that is so tail happy, is the famed Ascari. These cars are running very close together in a session like qualifying. A little bit more of a gap could have been given to set a fast time, but maybe trying to use each other as slip. Into Ascari now, a lot of curb taken on the first one. Don't try to take too much curb on the second one because it does pull you in. Very neat and tidy. Very, very neat and tidy. I feel like I'm watching a proper Super Trofeo race here. I feel like this is something I would watch live. Spectators in the stands there, we can see them all waving flags. Heading down now the back straight towards the Parabolic Club. Accelerating on the brakes, got to focus on getting on the power as opposed to getting to the corner as fast as possible, which seems to have been done more effectively by the driver in front of Cormac than Cormac himself from Cormac GP. Heading over the line now to set the first time, and it is what is going on here? I look like I have 3 of the same name on the top. It is Pride setting the fastest lap time of a, correct me if I'm wrong, a 154? A 153.4. Sorry, guys. My screen just a little bit shaky, so I struggle to see the numbers as well as the names. But Andy Boardman getting himself into second and straight away knocked down to third by who's that? Oh, Chamonle in pole, 153.4 again. So again, just as close to what it was at Brands Hatch. Top 9 currently separated by a second, so not as close, but pretty much up there. It's a much longer lap though, so we do expect the lap times to be a little bit further apart. Short circuits like Brands Hatch do allow for closer lap times. As we look at Christian Breuner putting himself on pole now, and as I said, he's knocked down. No. Seems as though he has been knocked down. Again, it's Owen Winlock that has put himself into the pole position as we speak now in qualifying with 6 minutes left to go. Winlock was one of the drivers we spoke about earlier from Sidemax Motorworks. Also a commentator himself. He's been involved in a few of the leagues. He's put himself into pole position in the number 90 Lamborghini Super Trofeo. I don't have the results of the previous heat in front of me, so I can't tell you where he finished in the last round, but I do remember touching on them quite a bit inside the top 10. But putting himself into pole position with a time of a 153 1:004. Great time from Owen Winlock. But let's see who can better that. Felix de Jong again fast at the next circuit. He is up into third place with Cody Pride. Also, one of our front runners from the previous round at Brands Hatch being chased down though. So he might be used as a bit of a slip goat there, but able to get himself into fifth place. The car behind him aborting the lap. So Cody Pride up into fifth place. We did mention that tyres are an issue before the Brands Hatch round, and we did see that tyres were an issue in the Brands Hatch round. Cody Price getting knocked down to seventh place now, and it's Kreuzer doing the knocking down. He's moved himself up into second place with Baptiste Capicote getting himself into pole position. He was a front runner at Brands, running in the top three. A mistake dropped him right down, so he was able to put himself onto the pole position and get himself, I think, first the drivers into the 152s. So very, very good lap from him there, securing himself at first place. Tim Trichet, we saw him running in the top three, in second for the majority of the race. A bit of questionable driving from my side. I don't think that, brake testing on the Apex is a great thing. If I was behind you, I probably would have sent you in the wall. But he did what he did, and it was great defensive driving, and he maintained his second place. But currently, he's only seventh at Monza. But a great driver, consistent lap times he put up in the previous race at Brands. Maybe his tires going off a bit too early. As we have a look now at Lucas Kreuzer in second place. Obviously, one of the drivers that we are going to see as a consistent front runner throughout the season, able to go from Brands Hatch over to the Monza circuit, and again, be inside the top three, along with Felix de Jong and Capicote. Capicote also qualifying quite high up at Brands Hatch, unfortunately a mistake, dropping him well down the order throughout the race. But he was a front runner at Brands Hatch as well. So we are seeing a little bit of a pattern forming here between these drivers. I think these are the three that we're going to see fighting it out with each other. Capicote, unfortunately, hurting his chances in the mini series. There are only 4 rounds, so making a mistake like that in a round isn't going to help you throughout the remainder of the season. Just a little bit on Lucas Kreuzer to give you a bit of background. He's won 2 driver championships and 1 team championship at GZR, raced in the SRO charity race, almost qualified for the virtual demands. Very quick driver for, again, Sidemax Motorsports. So Sidemax Motorworks. So Sidemax Motorworks in the red livery, the red grey, the red black and it looks almost silver. Car 99 of the Lamboghini Super Trofeo. Sorry, that looks actually red, black, and white. You get my eyes checked, clearly. So red, black, and white of Lucas Kreuzer, and he has put himself on pole position with a 152.755. 152.1. Put himself on pole position. So possibly going into the 51s here. I thought 53s is what we would be looking at, but possibly going into the 51s. And that knocking Felix de Jong down into fourth place by Owen Winlock. Winlock able to get himself into third ahead of Felix de Jong, Andy Boardman, and Trichet. Bruyne up there in 10th place with the first of the Danhausen brothers in 8th. 9th is Beret, 10th is Pride. Pride also consistent top 10 runner. But unfortunately, we see Ryan Menon, who was one of the Cormac, I'm going to call him from now on. Ryan Menon's is too long. Cormac from now on. He was running in the fight for the top 3 at Brands and unable to get himself out of 15th place and into the top 10. So maybe just struggling a bit with the Monza circuit. Maybe just not gelling or just unable to get a clean lap. So let's see if this lap from him is going to be a clean lap. We obviously can't see sectors live, so a little bit different to Formula 1 being able to see whether they're up or down on a lap. But we're on board with him now. He's currently in 16th. He does move himself up to 13th, but well over a second off the pace. So Cormac, not a fan of this circuit. On board now with Felix de Jong in car number 91 from Felix. Felix obviously trying to move himself into the top 3. Kreuzer happy with his lap time. He's in the pits. And Baptiste Capicote down into second. He was knocked off that pedestal by Kreuzer off the pole position, running tight to the wall to get a good run, shorten the circuit as much as possible. And he's going to be pulling over to abort that lap. So he's obviously happy with his second place or unable to go better. Trichet has moved himself into third position and into the top 3. That has knocked Felix de Jong down into 5th place. He's not going to be happy about that. Winlock also on a lap still. So we could see a little bit of movement up in the front now with Pride as well, moving his way from 10th into 6th. So a lot of movement going off over in the last lap or so. And let's see if these guys can finish their lap in what we like to call overtime to move themselves up the field. De Jong heading through Ascari now. One more straight and one more corner to go. A lot of people criticize Monza for being a drag strip with a couple of corners put in between, but it does have quite a few long straights. So there's going to be a lot of slipstreaming and possibly overtaking opportunities, a lot more than what we had at Brands Hatch as we head now into the Parabolica. Nice and neat and tidy from De Jong. He's touching the apex when he gets in the power. He's early on the power, up to fourth, fifth as he hits the exit curve now. He's staying tight to shorten circuit as much as possible and put in what is hopefully a good lap for him. Moves himself into third place. A wonderful lap from Felix de Jong, just pipping Triquet and Wenlock. And we're on board now with Chad Smith down in the 18th place at the moment. Can he better that position? He's going to need to find, only 16th. So unable to get himself into the top 10. But in a field this strong with this many drivers and this many talented drivers, mid-pack is not too bad. That brings to a close our qualifying session now. As we have a look at the timetable, it is Lucas Kreuzer in first place ahead of Capicart, De Jong, Bruyne, Triquet, and Boardman. Will round out your top six. Sorry, Triquet, Wenlock, Pride, Boardman, K. Ryan Menon, and C. Ryan Menon. So we do have two Ryan Menons in the class. Menons. Whitelock in 11th, Dunhazen in 12th, Jumonde in 13th, Bouet in 14th, Pearson 15th, Smith in 16th, Garotti done in 17th, Sorais in 18th, Reed in 19th, Geneva in 20th, Darling 21st, the second of the Dunhazen brothers in 22nd, and Roland in 23rd. Right, that's much better. Thank you. With only just over a minute left to go before we get into the first race, there is a warm-up lap, so they are currently sitting on the grid and waiting. Normally, you would have someone sitting next to you just keeping the nerves down from your team before the 30 seconds. Unfortunately, you don't have that in Simul, but I'm assuming they are sitting at home, warm and cozy. We are currently in our South African winter, which I'm assuming to those in the UK means nothing. we are in our South African winter, and we are quite freezing at the moment. When we say freezing, it's probably about 15 degrees. Having a look though quickly at the front row, Kreuzer just absolutely blitzing in Brands Hatch. So consistent, so smooth, no mistakes, and able to get himself the win at Brands. He's followed by Capicart with De Jong in third, Bruyne in fourth, and Triquet in fifth. Wenlock, another one of the Sidemax drivers and teammate to Kreuzer in the sixth place. Pride was able to get himself into the top 10 in the previous race. He's done seventh, Boardman in eighth, Ryan Menon in ninth, and the brother is another Ryan Menon in 10th. Unfortunately, I don't have their full names with me because they seem to have been late entries. Unless I just have a quick look through my entry list. No, not on my entry list. So obviously just late entries as we see Kreuzer head his way out for his warm-up lap. It is quite a long warm-up lap. You'll see them accelerating and braking quite often. That is done just to warm the brakes, keep the brakes up to temperature. You don't want cold brakes heading into turn one, especially at a circuit like Monza where there is the chicane. Those of you who are avid real racing fans, you'll know that there is an escape road through the chicane. But unless you almost stop the car through that escape road, you will be receiving a penalty from ACC. So not a place you want to go is that escape road. You see it there on your right-hand side with the chicane. Definitely not a place you want to go. That little chicane there, infamous at Suzuka in the fight between Prost and Senna, when Senna was told he had to turn around to rejoin the circuit. Senna feeling it was a political thing from the then French FIA president. But hopefully none of that here in this race here at Monza. We're going to have a nice clean first corner. I can feel it in my bones. They were quite well behaved in Brands Hatch. I expected quite a bit less than that. So hopefully they'll be exactly the same way. Line and stern into turn one. Get through turn one and race for 30 minutes rather than milk each other off the circuit. We do have a very experienced race control at the helm to issue the penalties if need be. So the boys need to just be a little bit more behaved through turn one and think about it as a 30-minute race as opposed to a 5-lapper. One thing we did notice from Brands Hatch is that the tires on these cars do go off. They are tail happy generically. Then with tires that are going off quite badly, we do see a lot of mistakes and a lot of errors from drivers. So a lot of shuffling towards the end, but all the way through, absolutely great racing. I must say this the Super Trofeo car does look a bit like the Batmobile when in matte black. As we had a look at car 85 there, kitted out that's for Verwey in his matte black Super Trofeo car, looking like something out of Batman. But none of that up front, all quite pretty colors. We've got the red, white, and black of Cruiser leading the way. As I said before, shortly they'll be going into double file and setting themselves up into their green boxes. I tried to explain it as best I could previous round. You need to try and stay ahead of your just behind your inside your green box. The closer you are to the end of it, the better start you're probably going to have. So we'll see them just getting all settled down. They'll start just before the Parabolica getting themselves into double file. Great in-car shot there with Capricorn. We'll see him on the start and see when about he gets in the power. First in the power is going to be the first one down to turn one. And as you see them double file now, he does have the inside line into turn one in second place. So it is entirely possible to get the move done. You see them all neat and tidy, slowing down to the desired speed that the game wants, getting ready for the start. We see them bunching up now as they head into the Parabolica. There is what we would call in karting the 90-meter mark. I think it's a little bit longer than that in main circuit, where they need to be all shuffled down and all settled, getting in the right positions and ready to go. Maintain a consistent speed of 70 or 80 k's an hour down the main straight now. Not allowed to exceed it. Royzer just getting a little bit further forward into his little box before he's told to settle at 80 k's an hour. Roundabout here is when they're being restricted for their speed. They'll be watching the lights on their screen, telling them when to get going. First one to drop the hammer is going to be the first one into first turn one. So we watch between Croydon and Capricorn who's going to get the best start. Green light is gone, and it looks like Capricorn's got the run on him going into turn one. Is he going to stay there? It looks as though he definitely does have the run. They're going in side by side. He's giving him a lot of room on the outside. I would move a lot closer to him. As he does so now, they head down into turn one. Croyzer still slightly ahead into turn one. Everybody, big outbreak from Winlock. He's gone from, teammates collide. Winlock taking out Croyzer. Croyzer able to rejoin in first, but that was, massive pile up at the back. So I felt it in my bones, and clearly my bones are wrong. The boys outbreaking themselves massively into turn one. And I think the stewards need to have a little chat there with Winlock, causing a massive incident and probably causing the incidents that continued thereafter. Capricorn quite comfortably in second place. Will Croyzer get a penalty for jumping the circuit? I don't think so. He was forced off, so he has got himself back into the. He's still in the lead, but is there any damage to his car? That is the question. The big loser there was Trichet. He's dropped down into seventh place behind Proud and Boardman. He did not qualify the two of them, so unfortunately dropping way down, and Boardman making himself up into fifth place. But Croyzer not having it all his own way. He can't just cruise his way into the front like he did at Brandt. So the Capricorn, De Jong, Bruyne, Boardman, and Pride all within spitting distance of each other. So unless he can start building a gap early on like he did previously, we may have a race on our hands here for the lead as we're on board with Baptista now. Heading down towards, he's running a little bit wide there. He needs to be careful. Doesn't want any warnings from race control about track limits. So he just needs to. There's Ryan Whitlock now. Down in ninth place. Lots of battles going on throughout the field as everybody tries to settle down. Just behind Whitlock there, we do see Winlock dropping himself down into 11th place and out of the point scoring position. But that was very, very, very silly into turn one. Almost forgetting to miss almost forgetting where the brake pedal was. As we have a look now, we're on board with Baptista. He's under pressure. Running into each other down the main straight there. So a little bit late to move was De Jong. And more movement on further behind between Boardman and Pride. Pride trying to get on the outside, and it looks like Baptista outbraked himself into the chicane. He's lost that place to De Jong and is now under attack from Bruyne. That's brought the whole gaggle into the fight now for what is essentially fourth place. It looks like a lot is going on. It looks like that Christian Bruyne was looking on the inside there of Baptiste, but Baptiste just going defensive and maintaining his way. He's outbreaked himself again. So Baptiste, unfortunately, unable to start. Did mention it in the qualifying. This is a circuit that you can outbreak yourself, and he'll be looking at a warning for cutting the corner like that. Another move like that, and he's going to be looking at getting himself a penalty as we go through the first of the Lesmos with Pride. Pride keeping it nice and neat and tidy, careful not to run too wide. There is a big overtaking opportunity. We can give him the power nice and early and get a run down towards the Ascari curves. 3 abreast now, or 3x3. They head down towards the Ascari. There we go. Drive through for Wenlock for that turn 1 incident. So he has been penalised for that turn 1 incident. We'll be getting a drive-through penalty for that. Oh, big mistake there. Big mistake from Pride. And just like that, his race is run. Getting on the power, getting too much inside curve. I did mention the qualifying. You don't want to run on those curves. They suck you in. But that has allowed Boardman onto the back of Bruyne. Bruyne having a look down the inside of the car of Baptiste Capricorn. Unable to get it down. And now that has hampered his run down towards the first of the chicanes and brought Boardman right into the hunt for it. We've seen how big the slipstream is here. We saw Baptiste or De Jong run into the back of Baptiste, so we know how big the slipstream is down here. Boardman needs to start moving, looking for a way past. He goes to the outside. That's the only option he's been given. Is he going to try and stick it on the outside? I damn well would. And we've seen Boardman do it more than once. We saw him do it to De Jong at Brands Hatch. He's going to do it to Bruyne. And it looks to me like a move is done. He does leave him quite a bit of room, though. That is some gentleman racing. And that, my friends, is how to go racing. Each driver giving each other the required amount of respect so that they can maintain and carry on racing throughout the event. But this has brought Tim Triquet into the fight for what is fourth place. Bruyne very excited to see this battle go on behind him because it's giving him just a little bit of breathing room to settle down and get back into the brake market. We saw him break himself more than once previously, so it has allowed him a little bit more time to settle down. But Boardman does look like the man with the pace to get past both Bruyne and Baptiste. So if Bruyne can't hold them off, I think he'll be all over the back as we look at Bussink now as we head into the second of the chicanes. Oh, great move. Just enough pressure to get the move done. And he's moved himself from 22nd up into, from 23rd up into 22nd. As we watch Neve try to go around the outside. Unable to do so. Does it give him a good run though to dive in it? No, unfortunately not. Early on the brakes though, in front there was Neve, and that just backed everybody up into each other and allowed Bussink the gap to get away. On board now with Karaman. It was Karaman who was very early on the brakes there. As we head down towards Ascari, that black-red does look sexy on that Trofeo, I must add. His teammate just behind this gaggle of cars now as they head through the Ascari, down the long back straight and towards the Parabolica. Ooh, big tail happy moment there for both Corbs and and I think it was Miller at the moment there, but Boardman losing a bit of time now on Bruyne. A lot of moving and shaking as we see Whitelock come out of the pits. Obviously, had a bit of damage and need to get his car. No, he's going defensive there. Going defensive. A little bit too defensive. A little bit too late on the brakes. And unfortunately, actually gaining on the car that was trying to pass him. Is he going to relinquish the position? He is. Great head and shoulders there. Just relinquish the position to not get a penalty from race control. But that has allowed him... It has allowed Schmanele to get around the outside. Samuel around the outside now into the second of the games and able to get the move done. Beautiful move from Schmanele there. Nice and late on the brakes. Got it turned in and got it stopped without having to use the curves to gain an unfair advantage. On board now, Bruyne again. Big tail happy moment. That's allowed Tim up the inside. Tim's going deep down the inside. He hasn't made the move stick. He wasn't close enough. And he has completely backed out of that. So, sorry, that was Boardman and Tim Triquet having a bit of a battle there. So Boardman losing a bit of time on Bruyne there, and this has just allowed Baptiste to run into third place quite comfortably. I'd love to see how close De Jong is to our leader of Koiza as we go back to Geneva in 20th. Guys, butchering these names, but I am trying my best. Please excuse me. Going on the outside of Van Asperen now. heading towards the Ascari corners. And that's been taking the inside line, but Victor just able to power around the outside there. So Victor getting himself a position as we have a look now at Cruiser. I'm just going to call him Cruiser from now on because he just seems to cruise himself out into the lead. No problems, no concerns, and he's built the same gap he had at Brands Hatch, just on a different driver now as we look back to De Jong. Not really chasing hard. He's also got a comfortable gap between himself and the third place man, Baptiste. So the fighting Baptiste between to maintain that third place obviously cost him a bit of time on De Jong, and it's now just a case of maintaining that tyre wear. But two people not maintaining that tyre wear or not concerned about tyre wear is Boardman and Tim Chicay. They are fighting hammer and tongs for what is sixth and fifth as we see a driver cut the chicane there. Look to be Shimandale actually cut the chicane there after outbraking himself. You need to be careful not to do that because more than once in the game will issue you a penalty automatically. Sean Moriarty coming under pressure down the inside there, unable to make a mistake. He was able to get the braking done and get the car turned. Able to go around the outside of Neve there and maintain his 24th place. So racing throughout the field here. This is definitely going to be a series to watch as we go into round 3 and 4 as well at the legendary Zandvoort and Zolder as we look at Alex Darling all over the back of Roland. Under pressure from Roland. Car facing the wrong direction there. So a little bit too much curb taken, and that car is now facing the wrong direction. Great awareness to avoid what could have been a very, very nasty incident on board now. Darling as they head down towards the Ascari. Under pressure there from Girardi. Darling and Girardi having a big fight there. Roland's gone upper place past Pierce as they went into Ascari. So it looks as though Girardi going to be looking way past Darling through the Ascari. Big slides, big movements, and that's going to allow them to run to Girardi as they head. Rubbing his racing boys. But leave the boxing for the pits there, boys. Let's not make contact down one of these straights at over 200 k's an hour. But that has allowed Girardi to move his way up into what is a 15th place. That's gone. He's lost it. So unfortunately, it looked like Darling batted away through what is through the Parabolica. More racing going on here between Tyler Reid in 16th place, trying to get past for 15th. Or is that 15th and 17th as they head down into the chicane? Outbraked. Both of them outbraking themselves. But how did he manage to get that car turned in? Absolutely brilliant driving to get that car stopped and turned in. Back to the front now. We're looking at Felix de Jong, looking to try and catch Cruiser, who I'm telling you right now, I'm calling him Cruiser from now on because he seems to just be cruising. But that gap has come down slightly, so he's not having it all his own way like he did at Brands Hatch. And the fight continues between Boardman and Tim Chicay. Yeah, they're still running very close together. It looks like Boardman has settled down into a rhythm now. He's making quite a few mistakes behind Christian Borner. So Christian Borner just able to maintain that gap and sap up the pressure he was being put under. And able to maintain that position. But Boardman seems to have settled down a bit now. And it's putting him under pressure again. We see the two different lines into the Parabolica. There is the tight line to the inside. And then there's obviously the wider approach going in late apex and early on the power. A lot of drivers choosing to run the outside here and not shorten the circuit by going to the inside. So there are two different lines. I am a fan of the wider line. On board with Borden, though, it does look like he lost a bit of time to Broiner through there. And he is under pressure from Tim Chicay. Tim Chicay going inside. Just to show him he's there. Put him under pressure. Maybe force Andy into outbreak himself, which he has done. So he has slightly outbreak himself. It's going to compromise his run out of here. Tim Chicay aware of that and able to get right onto the back bumper of Andy Boardman. You're right on side now with right in board now with Tim Chicay. Slipstream is quite hectic here. Is he going to be able to stick it down the inside? He is close enough. Boardman unaware that he's coming. Is aware, goes inside. Holds the defensive line into the second chicane. Squeezes over just to intimidate Tim Chicay a bit. and able to maintain that. But again, compromising his exit. Tim Triquet is early up the inside. Boardman making a late move across to cut off his nose. A little bit too late for my liking. That could have been a disastrous incident. But Tim Triquet just outbreaking himself and losing a position now to Meenan. Meenan just leaning on his door a bit and running wide. Tim Triquet looking for the inside, but that little rub beforehand stopped him from doing so. So from looking for a position moving up a place to fifth to dropping down a place to seventh behind. Oh, big mistake there from me. That's going to allow Moriarty just to run straight around the outside. A little bit of damage on the front of the car. That might be why it's making a couple of mistakes here and there. But we can see how tail happy these cars are. And it's actually worse off here than what it was as Brands Hatch. As we can see, someone's actually taken out the brake markers there on the side of the circuit. So very difficult to keep these cars in line around a circuit like Monza. On board with the newly given elected fourth placeman Cormac, as we watch Tim Triquet go run wide to fifth. We've lost someone out of the top 7. Someone has gone missing out of the top 7. And it looks like Broiner. We are missing Broiner out of the top 7. Oh no, Baptista. Baptista Capricorn is missing out of the top 7. And he is dropping way down to 11th place. So unfortunately, a mistake from Baptista dropped him way down to 11th place, but promoted everybody else. So a mistake. It looks like front end damage there. So I don't know if a mistake from him or contact with another driver has caused him to drop way down the field to 11th place. We saw him do it in the first round of Brands Hatch, and it looks like he's done it again here. On board now, the Martin van Aspen, a late lunge from Busnick behind him. We've seen Busnick make those stick a couple of times, unable to do so now though. That's not a place you want to dive though. It can go horribly wrong very, very quickly. I know you can't see it from the outside here, but you can see very little from the inside of these cars. So if you're going to make a move stick, you need to know that the driver is there. The game does give you a bit of an idea of where the other driver is, but it's not as accurate. Do the second of this game now, pushing right on the back of them there as we cut forward to Cormac, our newly promoted fourth place driver. But unfortunately, a couple of gaps throughout the top 3. So Kreuzer out in front with a gap to De Jong, then another gap to Broiner, then another gap to Cormac, and then the dice for fourth place between Shamanle and Tim Triquet as well. Triquet. Whitelock also up there in 7th place. We are at the halfway mark as we speak. So 15 minutes gone in this race. Shamanle down the inside now into the Parabolica. Difficult place to overtake. You can overshoot it quite easily, but it looks like he seems to have gotten the move done. Careful not to get on the power too early and let the back go out. We go back to the racing between Cormac and Schmanley. And it looks like Schmanley got the move done now. Cormac, though, hungry to come back in. He's got a better run out of the Parabolica. Schmanley just staying tight onto the inside, not allowing Cormac the space to go down the inside. So forcing Cormac. Cormac's going inside. He's running out of road. There's only grass there. He's staying in the grass. He's not going to get that car stopped in time. No way, no how. So a little bit too over-eager there. 4 wheels on the grass would have been a penalty regardless if he had made that move stick, because that is an unfair advantage passing with all 4 wheels on the grass. He has rejoined the circuit in 5th place, allowing Schmanley to go past and hopefully not receiving a penalty for that move down the inside on the grass. As a race steward, I would definitely have a look at that as we head into the second chicane. But he is back, living to fight another day. And as chicane, I'd be a little bit irritated by that. He made no attempt to make the chicane after running over the grass. So I'd be a little bit irritated by that, Johnny. But hopefully it doesn't frustrate him too much that he makes another mistake again, because he's been a mistake plenty this last race. As we have a look now at Roland. Kevin Roland down in 13th place, trying to move himself back up the field. Not a great start for Roland. He's just behind Smith. Now Smith, we also saw running in very similar placings in Brands Hatch, but under heavy pressure from Roland into the Ascari curves. Roland going outside because he's forced to go to the outside. He's going to be looking to get a good run out of here. So we have a look at the military green car of Roland. Military green car of Roland under pressure. Why is Boardman so far back? Boardman was one of the drivers that we were looking at in the front. So obviously we lost Boardman and we lost Baptiste. So I wonder if the two of them maybe had contact, and that's what caused the shuffle in the front. So Borden, one of the drivers we were looking at up in the front, has unfortunately dropped himself down to 14th place, and it was all over the back of Roland. Definitely got the pace to run up front. We know this. We've seen him up front. He's got the outside line now as they're heading to the chicane. He's going to try and go around the long way around. And we've definitely seen him do that in the past more often than not. So Andy Boardman costing himself quite a few positions and dropping down outside the top 10. Not going to do well for the championship hopes. He needs to move himself into the top 10 being the points scoring positions. Either that or he's just angry or hungry to get back onto the back of Baptista Capricorn. Maybe a little bit of retaliation in order there. We don't know. We didn't see. So both our front runners, Boardman and Capricorn, dropping down. But a great race from Samuel Shimandale. We see him up into 4th place. He was inside the top 10 just at Brands and now running comfortably in 4th place. So obviously a circuit he's a little bit more comfortable with. But what's going to be interesting to see is the tire degradation that we experienced at Brands Hatch and how severe it is going to be here at Monza. Monza is very hard on tires, especially the rear. So it'll be interesting to see what the degradation on these tires are going to be and what these drivers have done to combat that with the experience they have from round 1. So Shimandale currently sitting just ahead of the Ryan Meenan, Cormac. Just ahead of Cormac now. They head down the very long back straight towards the Parabolica. The slip not as effective on these cars as it is in the GT3, so he's unable to pull in that car length gap that Shimandale has on him. He does the late apex outside line. Shimandale dives the car in early, and it looks like there we see the tire degradation. There we see how tricky these cars can get after 20 minutes of racing. So they do become a handful as the tires start to degrade. As we go back now to Kevin Rowland under massive pressure as well from Garotti. Garotti we also saw up in the top 10. So a lot of mistakes or a lot of issues happening throughout the field, dropping our usual front runners down towards the mid-pack. So obviously action aplenty throughout the field at the moment. But Kevin Rowland massively under pressure as Garotti goes for the late move down the inside. Close enough, but it looks to me like Rowland has outbraked himself rather drastically. Car facing the wrong direction through the chicane. He's gone for the escape road. Was that one of our front runners? No. So not a front runner that we were watching earlier on further up the field. But we have a look now at Garotti putting pressure under Rowland. And another move from Busnick. Busnick moving himself up the field quite nicely, going from last I looked at him, he was in 23rd place. So moving quite nicely up the field into 18th. Maybe just not the greatest qualifying he could have hoped for. Back now to Vincenzo Sorais. Also, one of the front runners previously, I think that was the man who made the mistake we saw facing backwards to the chicane. So he's down in 15th place in car number 1. I wonder if there's another mistake from him. So these tires are degrading horribly on the rear of these cars. So becoming a handful for some of these drivers. Maybe tire pressure is just incorrect. We watch them again here. The back of that car is all over the place. He just can't keep it in a straight line. So tire degradation is becoming a thing now as we head with 9 minutes left to go. Just under 7 laps. Tyler Reed in car 13 and 16th place, all over the back of Sorais. As they big down, late lunge there from Lagarde, unable to make a stick and decided to back out of it. It was a great idea. So maybe 2 cars in front of him braking a little bit earlier than he expected, and he was actually taking evasive action as opposed to having a move. As we have a look at the Cruiser Crowser, just chilling out there in first place, loads of time to himself, writing his next novel. Felix Young has kept him honest though, has kept the gap pretty much the same throughout the race. He is, they're obviously both just protecting the tires. In fact, it looks like Felix Young has caught up to Krauser. Krauser could just be doing a little bit of what we call gap maintenance. No need to push. He knows what the gap is. He sees the gap staying pretty stagnant. Bruyne quite comfortable there in third place, but it does look Shimandale has put on a little bit of a turn up the wick a bit, and they have caught onto the back of Bruyne. So Bruyne was in that battle we saw earlier with Baptiste Capricorn, who has got himself up into 10th place now, the last of the point scoring positions, but he is fighting with Boardman. Boardman able to get the move done. So no love lost between these two. I wonder if the issue was because of contact between the two of them, but that does move Boardman up into 10th place. Capricorn not finished yet. Goes from the inside. Boardman's got to close. He then goes outside again. Is he able to make it stick? No. So Baptiste Capricorn not having it all his own way in this event. All the previous, made mistakes in the previous as well, and cost himself a good finish. But Boardman, we saw, was fighting for the top 3 at Brands, and here currently moved himself into 10th place as we ride on board with the 11th place Baptiste Capricorn. So I was, if I was Baptiste and I knew Boardman was quicker than me, I'd tuck in behind him and chase the group of cars in front of us, because for my mini series championship, I need as many points as I get, especially considering 10th place only scores 1. So if I were them, working together would be a better option than fighting each other. So we have a look at Smith in the 12th place, but a big battle behind them is Roland and Garotti again, going at it hammer and tongs as we still on board with a Baptiste Capricorn. We go back now to Garotti trying to go around the outside of the Parabolica. Not able to do so. He's turning it in to try and get the drive out, but can those rear tires handle it after all the degradation? After all 6, or with only 6 minutes to go, so 24 minutes, he's got the move done. A great run out of the Parabolica. He's round the outside, and thank you very much for coming, sir. I'll take my 13th place back. But this has also allowed the driver, big overspeed there from the driver behind them. That looked like Mr. Rice behind Roland. Who is that yellow car? The yellow car a little bit out of place there. He's not actually on our leaderboard. So he just decided to stay out of that battle. He's obviously just a lap down on these drivers that we are watching at the moment. But Garotti obviously having the pace on him. We go back to Moritz Danhausen, the first of the Danhausen brothers, making his way past Whitelock for 8th place, moving from 9th to 8th with a great move around the outside. So Whitelock now falling into the clutches of Boardman. I did say that Baptiste should hang on to the back of Boardman and try and get to the front, especially that damaged front end. The damaged front end isn't going to help you in a straight line, and we can see him losing time to Smith behind him. So Boardman making the best of a bad situation. He could move himself up here from 10th place up into 8th and score 2 more valuable championship points, because these 2 in front of him are fighting hammer and tongs. Look at Whitelock try to go on the outside into the Ascari curves. This is brave. This is brave. He's managed to make a stick, but this is brave. Oh, Danhausen not giving him the move. That's allowed Boardman the run down towards the Parabolica. It's a double slipstream. So will he be able to get the run down and get the car ahead of his compatriot onto the brakes now into the Parabolica? It's dangerous because early on the brakes was Danhausen, and unfortunately unable to get a great catch from Boardman. That car was all out of sorts on the brakes. So wonderful catch there from Boardman to keep himself in the race, but unfortunately unable to gain 1 more valuable championship point from Moritz Danhausen. We go back now to Chamonix. I did say he was catching 3rd place man, Breuner, but Breuner seems to have turned up the wicket bits and opened the gap again. The man on the move, though, looks like Tim Triquet. Tim Triquet able to put a bit of gap back on the car there of Ryan Meenan, or Corbett Meenan. So Corbin Meenan losing a little bit of time there to Triquet and losing a little bit of time on Chamonix. So it'll be difficult. It'll be interesting to see if Triquet can turn up the wick here. Maybe he was just a little bit wise to the tire degradation more than everybody else, because he did experience quite bad. Whoa! Big mistake in front of the 2 of them. Is that Breuner? Breuner throwing away his 3rd place over the curbs of Monza. I did say if you drop a wheel wrong, it is going to spit you and face you the other direction. So unfortunately, Breuner going down from 3rd place to 7th, and that has promoted Samuel Chamonix into that 3rd place. So unfortunately, Breuner just throwing it away there through Lesmo 1. It is so easy to get on the power too early. It is a blind corner, so when you're getting on the power, you're actually guessing whether or not you've got it on in the right place, because you can't actually see the exit of the corner. So it is a difficult corner to get through, and unfortunately, Breuner just maybe getting on a little bit too early, dropping a wheel over the curb and spinning him right around. He's now in danger from the first of the Danhausen brothers as well. So not a great last 3 minutes for Breuner. There was no need for him to push. I doubt he was going to catch De Jong, and he was maintaining a gap with Chamonix. But I did say maybe he's turning up the wick stage to keep his 3rd place safe as we head into the high stages of this 30-minute race. On board now, Cormac. He used to be chasing a 4th place finish. He's now going to be chasing a 3rd place finish behind that of Chamonix, heading into the first of the chicanes. So difficult to not outbreak yourself here as we head back to Garotti. The fight between Garotti and that of Roland. But Garotti is catching onto the back of Boardman. Boardman unable to move from that 10th spot into further up from that 10th spot. I thought we would have dispatched the 9th place driver Whitlock and the 8th place Danhausen. Where is that car going? So Roland unable to get that car stopped at all. So maybe massive brake failure from Roland, or brain failure, one of the two. But he was unable to get that car stopped for the chicane. He had sunk back into his position, but that looked scary. It almost looked to me like brake failure. But that does bring him under pressure from Smith. Smith looking to move up from 13th to 12th. He's going to have to go the long way around. Roland not having any of it. He is going the wrong way around. Roland's going to have to give him a bit of room here on the curb. But Smith thinking better of it. And that has allowed Soroti down the inside. So Soroti getting in past on Charles Smith. Charles Smith thought he was going up a place, but it looks like he's going to go down a place. Charles goes around the outside. It gets all sorts of untidy. He has to catch an oversteer moment. And it looks like Roland also in the wall. So a few issues here. Roland in the wall, Smith in the bush. And unfortunately, both of them way down the order from where they were. So both of them, unfortunately, losing out massively there. But it looks like the tires are starting to go away from these drivers quite badly. So it'll be interesting to see what happens at the front. And as I say that, we have a look at Corbett. He was fighting for 4th. He's now dropped down to 5th. So Corbett, unfortunately, losing 5th place to Truquet. So Truquet learning from his previous experience as they head on to the last lap now that these tires degrade horribly. But Cormac hasn't given up yet. He's looking for a way past on Truquet now as they head down into the finish of the chicanes. Truquet is going to make him go the long way. There's grass there, my mates. You're going to have to get back on the inside. Truquet, being the gentleman, giving him enough room to get back onto the inside there. So now Truquet is the one that's going to have to go the long way around. It looks like Cormac was good on the brakes there. He's got the move done. So Tim Truquet, unfortunately, being a little bit too gentlemanly there and unable to defend the attack of Cormac. But good clean racing from the both of them. No contact from either, and no one outbraked themselves and doing anything silly. So good clean racing. Good to see more of that. As it's not over yet, though. Because Truquet still looking for a way past. Is Cormac going to make him go the long way around? No, he opens up the inside. He thinks it's always better. He thinks it's better to go around the outside, and at the moment it looks as though it is, because Tim Truquet has lost a lot of ground coming out of the second of the chicanes as they head into Lesmo 1 now. This is a very tricky corner. If you push too hard, the back doesn't want to step out on you. Very neat and tidy through there. We have seen a lot of mistakes from drivers through here, but for Way, a big gainer in all of this. I've seen him move from, I think, 9th or 10th place up into 6th. So a big gain there as Ryan Whitlock fighting for the last and final points position from that of us. I see a car exit stage right. Not quite sure who that is, but it looks like Boardman has moved himself up from the 9th place into 8th. And it looks as though Garotti looking to get himself into the top 10 with an inspired drive. As we have a look now, as the cruiser, it looks as though De Jong did get right onto the back of him, though. Cruiser finishing the race. So it looks like we missed a battle there between the two of them for first and second. But another cruise for Lucas Cruiser to take on the win. Ritz Danhauser holding off the attack of Boyner. Boyner, who was one of the top 3 drivers, unfortunately making a massive mistake, dropping himself down to 8th. But this is the battle for the top 10, and we have lost. Yes, we have. We have lost Boardman from this battle. Grant here unable to make it stick, though, but he will settle for 10th place quite gladly, as Boardman obviously threw it away on the last lap. He was a vehicle I saw exit stage right. So Ryan Whitlock will take 9 from Garotti here at the flag. Another flag-to-flag win for the cruiser, as we have a look back at another last lap battle between Chad Smith and Boardman. Boardman, one of the front runners previously in the previous round, one of the front runners throughout this race, and 2 major mistakes costing him a lot. As we have a look back now at our race winner, Lucas Kreuzer, winner of the second round at Monza. It did look like De Jong came right onto the back of Kreuzer. He was flashing his lights there over the line. So maybe something not too happy there, but the results as we look at them now, it's Kreuzer, De Jong, Schmonle, Corbett, Troke, Verwey, Danhausen, Browner, Whitelock, and Garotti, the top 10. Unfortunately, Baptista Capricat and Boardman throwing it away and ending their race. As Jan Karaman coming around in 24th place to end his race, 2 laps down, heading into the Parabolica for the last time. But great racing throughout the field, and I am definitely looking forward to the next round. which will be at Zandvoort and Zolder. I'm unsure of the order, but Lucas Kreiser taking his lap of honor at the end of this second round at Monza. So that brings to a close our live stream of these events. Coming up next or next week, same time, same place, YouTube. Thursday, I think it is the 24th. Thursday the 24th will be the round 3 and 4 of the SimGrid Super Trofeo mini-series, and those will be taking place at Zandvoort and name escapes me. Zandvoort and Zolder. Zandvoort and Zolder. Oh, we've got interviews as well. I apologize. I wasn't aware. So interviews with drivers as well after this. The guys stick around for the interviews. But Zandvoort and Zolder will be our next rounds. And that is I think it will be quite an interesting race. That will be on the 24th. But let's get into our driver interviews then. Who?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it, Steve? How you doing, mate?
Doing great.
Fantastic, bud. So, obviously, I'm new to Super Trofeo, and I haven't seen a lot of it. The one thing that I want to talk to you about is possibly was the tire degradation as bad as it looked like from my side?
It was crazy. Like the last, I think, 10 minutes, it started like going down really, really fast. And then the last 5 minutes, I had to do like 2 major saves, going almost sideways, El Drifto through the corners. It was ridiculous.
No, it is something I've noticed with these cars. So they are quite tail happy. It looks like they're actually tail happy throughout the race, but the last 10 minutes looked like an absolute handful. But the racing, very, very close. Qualifying, very, very close as well. So, talk me through the first opening laps of this race. It must be absolutely phenomenal.
It was really good. It actually started off like both the races started off really clean into the first corner, and then one person started to spin, making it a little bit crazy. Everybody had to take evasive actions, but after that, it's been really close. It's been really clean. I saw somebody like the previous race. Somebody did a little hit, but he let him through. So sportsmanship was really good.
I did see a lot of sportsmanship throughout the field. It was actually nice to see, very, very professional. I did feel like I was watching an actual live race with the amount of racing you guys were doing. Very, very close, very, very door to door. It was interesting to see. But the amount of testing you got on the car, did you guys get enough time to do some testing with them? Was there a lot of setup changes that needed to be done?
For Monza, it was actually pretty straightforward. It started to like when you're trying it out, you felt like it really had to have less wing, and that was actually the only change that I needed to do for Monza. The problem though was it was so warm in the actual race that the left rear suddenly started overheating, which wasn't the case like in a training session. So that was different. For brands, though, I had to do a lot of setup trying to make the car work, which was difficult.
Yeah, we're heading into 2 circuits now that are notoriously difficult to pass on. Do you see that being a problem going forward? And with your experience from these 2 rounds, you're obviously going to make changes tire pressure wise in that. But do you think Zandvoort qualifying is going to be the most important because it is that difficult to pass on a circuit like that?
It's going to be. You're going to do a lot of setup work to try and get into the top. I wasn't the quickest actually in the qualifying, so I'm always better in a race pace. So I'm just concentrating just purely on race setup and trying to survive, make clean laps, and actually like in the end, the last few laps I was I had like the same pace as like the top 5. So for me, it's just trying to get down on qualifying and do a little bit better. But for me, it's just trying to survive the race.
Oh, fantastic, mate! Great chatting to you. It was awesome and insightful. I do appreciate that, and good luck for your next 2 rounds. And hopefully we'll see you there.
Thanks, mate. Talk to you soon.
All the time, the entire race.
It was a bit better for me because I was just green and.
Hello, guys. Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Your pre-race interview with Lucas the Cruiser, as I now call you. Your name is now Lucas the Cruiser.
Yeah,
and
close
De Jong. But you cruised to two victories there. De Jong, we didn't see much of the battle, but it looked as though you got right onto the back of the cruiser there at the end of the Monza race.
Yeah, we were just talking about that. Tires were totally done, but mine were still better than his. So, basically through Lesmo 1, Lesmo 2, and Parabolica, I was gaining 3 to 4 tenths a lap in the final 3 laps. But it was just not enough.
Yeah, I did mention before in the previous interview that, obviously tire degradation makes a big difference, and I could see it from the first 2 rounds. I didn't spend a lot of laps on these cars, but I do know them as being, quite rear and happy. So tire degradation looked like something that you two had to look after. Both of you got it right, both at Brands Hatch and at Monza. I'm not going to ask you to reveal your secrets, although I know it probably has something to do with tire pressures. But you guys drove some great racing. But Cruiser, we got to talk the Cruiser. We got to talk about your qualifying laps, mate. Those one-off flyers to move you from 3rd or 2nd on the grid, or 4th or 5th on the grid, up to pole in your last lap, last attempt. Absolutely brilliant. But talk me through your lap at Brands Hatch. How was that for you to put it on pole in the last possible minute?
I've done quite a lot of races by now, and the thing is, in quali sessions and on race starts, I'm still like pretty nervous. So the heart is beating on like a lap where you just make it to do the final lap with like 3 or 4 seconds to go on the sessions, and you just go over the line. Then it's basically just put the lap together. I know where I had to find time, and I guess I used the opportunity to do so. And the lap was good. The car was through quali and race, so I didn't have anything to complain about.
Well, maybe your first corner is something you would like to touch on, with your teammate almost sending you off into the bushes there with a bit of a late lunge. Is there going to be some hard feelings after that, or is it just you're going to write it off as a mistake?
No, I think especially on Monza, it shouldn't happen, but I guess it can happen. And of course, as him being my teammate, it's pretty unfortunate. But 6 seconds of damage. It's a bit, but it's not like neck breaking. So the car was fine after it. If I would have lost the race because of it, I would have probably been mad or madder.
So no harm, no foul. No harm, no foul.
No. I know Owen. He's a friend by now. We've driven quite a lot of races together, so everything's fine.
Right. So a good way to look at it. Thank you very much for that, though. But Felix, the Cruiser now well in the lead of the championship with 20 points. I think you got a 3rd at Brands, if I'm not mistaken, and a 2nd. So you're a little bit behind there in the points. Yep. What are you going to do differently going forward into Zandvoort and Zolder to gain back a championship lead there?
Well, for one, I decided like a half an hour before the first race started to register for this race. So I might do some practice for these next 2 races. It does help that I'm Dutch myself, so I'm quite familiar with Zandvoort, and Zolder is one of my favorite tracks. So I'm looking to bring the heat to Lucas, as they say.
Fantastic. So we've got our Dutch line in this series as well. So that's going to be quite interesting to see at Zandvoort. But guys, Zandvoort is a circuit that's notoriously difficult to pass on. I mean, we've seen at Monza that it is quite difficult to drive a tail lappy car at Monza, but even more so at Zandvoort. So qualifying is going to be key there, guys. So a bit of testing and a bit of setup between the both of you, I'm sure. But I think it's going to be a fight between the two of you for quali, and I'm looking forward to it. But guys, great racing. It was awesome to see. The professionalism was amazing. And, me coming from Africa, and we've had some racing here. You guys definitely raised the level in terms of racing, and hopefully I look forward to seeing you two battle it at the next round.
Yeah, me too.
Yep.
Thank you very much, guys. Right, guys, so that concludes our round 1 and 2 of the SimGrid Super Trofeo mini-series. We'll be coming back for round 3 and 4 on Thursday and next week. They will be at Zolder and Zandvoort. Hopefully we see Lucas the Cruiser versus Felix the Dutch Lion go hammer and tongs at it again for the lead of the Super Trofeo mini-series championship. I'd like to thank everybody involved in the production of this. It's been fantastic to be a part of, and I look forward to next week. Hopefully we see you all there.